Today's World-Beater Wrestling hot tip is all about whether we need to learn everything within pro wrestling. So the question of the day, do we have to learn every style? Do we have to learn every move, every movement? What if we're a big guy? Do we need to know how to fly? What if we're a small guy? Do we have to know how to suplex and slam people? The short answer to all of this is absolutely. But I'm going to unpack it and I'm going to bring up two very key stories from my career. And they were massive, massive learning curves where I learned the hard way that yes, absolutely, you need to learn everything. I can think of probably 4 or 5 reasons why you should at least try to learn a little bit of every style. And my first story comes to you from 2007. This was the first time that I decided to really leave the nest and branch out overseas. And I picked California as my destination. Now to this point, my training was limited to fundamentals. I'd learnt a little bit of the British style here and there, but this was going to be something unlike anything I'd experienced before. Now, anyone familiar with California would know that it's a very heavy Lucha Libre influence. And 3 days after I arrived, I had a match booked and I hadn't yet started my training. And my match was against 2 luchadors by the name of Los Chivos. On the day, I think we had probably 10 to 15 minutes to put together this match. And anyone who has wrestled before knows that that is daunting at the best of times, particularly when you're only a couple of years into your career. So being the inexperienced wrestler, I let Los Chivos put this match together. I let them structure it and put the little pieces in place, and everything looked pretty cool, except I had no idea what they were talking about. I'd never heard what a quesadilla was. I didn't know what resorte meant, but I wasn't going to be the first person to put my hand up and say, sorry, sir, I have zero idea what you're talking about. So we got through this match, and to my recollection, it was a little bit clunky. All fault goes to me. I had zero idea what I was doing, but I decided that I needed to really embrace the Lucha Libre style. I mean, I was going to be in California for 3 months. It would be in my best interest to do so. So through all the coaches that I was able to train under, I made sure to seek out the Lucha Libre coach. And he himself, very limited English. He had an interpreter who was his young son who used to help us out with any feedback. And although I had no interest in using Lucha Libre in my own wrestling, I made sure that I could at least understand the basics. And at least if I was ever in that situation again, I would be more confident and able to at least pull together somewhat of a decent match. So my trip to California ended. I went back and did the same. And I guess the one thing I noticed, and this is the second reason, is through my wanting and my desire to become a better technical wrestler, a better submission grappler, I found there were a lot of crossovers. So there were a lot of things within Lucha Libre that I could apply to my technical wrestling. It allowed me to become a little bit more creative. It opened up more doors for me. And then a few years later, and this was really the big one, the big opportunity, I received a call from Lucha Vavoom, and that was a Californian Lucha Libre cross burlesque entertainment company who were about to run at the big day out in Australia. And the big day out in Australia is a massive deal. All the biggest bands in the world, it was going to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Killers, and Lucha Libre Pro Wrestling. And the first thing they said was, we heard from people in California that you knew how to wrestle lucha. And of course, my experience, super limited, and I hadn't used it since. But those opportunities came about because of doors I opened previously by being open-minded. Big Day Out was by far one of the most exhilarating experiences, most rewarding experiences, and not only was it cool to rub shoulders with celebrities, but I was also able to wrestle that Lucha Libre style, from start to finish with some of the world's best, which was just awesome. My second story, a little bit shorter. This one comes from Japan, 2012. And at that point, I'd had a few years to open my mind and try to learn as much as I could. And with the desire to go to Japan, I made sure to try to learn the Japanese style as best I could and tape study and really understand how to go about wrestling over there. And 4 days before I left for Tokyo, I received a message that my new finisher was to be the moonsault. Not only that, but I was about to wrestle a man who was called Mr. Moonsault, and we were going to have a battle over who could hit the moonsault first. Let me preface this by saying I'd never backflipped in my life. I was so terrified of backflipping after I saw Hayabusa land on his head with the Asai moonsault. I made sure to never, ever, ever try that move. And I trained in places where we weren't really pushed to do those things. We were able to do it if we wanted. If we wanted to learn it, we could learn it. But it's something I steered clear of. I made sure to stay away because I didn't want that kind of danger. I didn't feel like I was athletic enough to do it. But here's me in the biggest opportunity of my career, and I'm being told that I have to hit a backflip. This just goes to show you that there are a lot of opportunities in life that will be open if you can tick every box. If you can at least be just a little bit competent in everything, or at least be willing to try, you may be put out there and that may open the door for more and more opportunities. You don't want to be the person who has to put their hand up and say, I can't do this. This isn't me. So learn it all. Learn as much as you can. Still focus on your style. Still focus on what you want to be as a pro wrestler, but keep an open mind. So let's summarize and put this all together. If you keep an open mind and learn a little bit of everything, you're now going to open new creative pathways that you can apply to your own wrestling and stylistic preference. You're going to make sure that no matter who you're wrestling, no matter what size, shape, or style, you can have a great match. And you're going to open up new opportunities that may not have been there had you pigeonholed yourself to just one style or one type of wrestling. And if you ever want to be a coach or a trainer one day, but you're only familiar with one thing and you're one-dimensional, you're doing yourself and your trainees a disservice. What happens if they want to learn Lucha Libre? What happens if they want to learn the British chain wrestling and counter wrestling style? Make sure you at least know how to hang with everything. Know it all and open up those opportunities, regardless of what you want to do within pro wrestling.
If you want to see more videos like this, click on the subscribe button, spread the word, and if you have any questions or requests for World-Beater Wrestling, don't be afraid to comment below.